great leaders do not come up with ideas. Great leaders see ideas, but they're told they can do something. Um, I'm sure Caesar didn't just decide to cross the Rubicon. He had people, help to bounce it off of. He didn't just, lead with his gut. Um, but so what's too much? What's crossing the Rubicon in this case of the Trump administration? What stops people from supporting you who otherwise would have good ideas? Republicans or former Republicans who say, you know what? We should do asset value added taxes at some rate that either has enough money or gets more, produces more revenue or even increases revenue to lead to more budget balance. It's at a doable rate to replace capital gains taxes, which is the same thing. An asset value added tax and capital gains taxes are the same thing. Instead swapping out a value added tax for tariffs. Because they're basically the same thing, or being able to do that because you've converted a stimulus packet from the government for children to paid through IRS. Instead, have that be an employer-paid subtraction value-added tax for that's paid by employers as part of wage to take out the stink of welfare. I'm just describing my three main tax things. At what point is a leader client, because this applies in the private sector too, disqualified himself? At what point do you say, no, this guy's too much of an idiot. I don't care how good the plan would be, how good the provision would be, how it might make him look good. Let's be honest about it. Or Republicans saying either one of those things. I mean, there are people in the party who would say, no, you can't do that. If we've got the votes to just, cut tax rates and make it so we can borrow money and never pay the taxes and, all this stuff. There's a lot of ways the Republicans hide money, because the Republicans have become the help billionaires hide money party. So there's always somebody who's, if you change taxes, they're going to say, no, we don't want to change the system. We like the system. The system lets us be rich, and even when we're not rich, cash out money that people think we have and do things with it. And then, bugger the heirs once they realize that all that money was fraud. When did the Republican Party become that party? There are some who have been past Republicans, that I've served with under Republican members of Congress and senators, who have been assistant secretaries at the Department of Treasury, who have good tax plans that would make the intent that Trump would give actually workable and morally justifiable. There's ideas out there to stop people from having to sign forms and to go off and get a tax preparer. Of course, it's the tax preparers that stop most of this, because that's their bread and butter. If there's tax simplification, ends the reason that they're alive, or that they have that extra job this time of year. So, that's when did the Democratic Party become and the Republican Party become owned by tax preparers, to help people do their their earned income tax credits. This army of private sector bureaucrats who fit the bureaucracy and take their cut. They're really just getting a cut. It doesn't add any money to the federal, but they get a cut, from the poor. And the poor don't seem to mind, because they wouldn't get anything because they couldn't do it on their own. So they've made it complicated so that people can get their cut. So if the government wants stimulus for parents who have children, then you're also stimulating people who are taking a cut. Which as long as everybody agrees on that corruption, I mean, yeah, it's because it's a corrupt thing. If it needs to be higher, they can make it the amount higher, and they should make the amount higher so people can actually so afford having kids. So it's a poor tax too. It's a dumb tax. If people can figure out how to do the form, then they get the cut. It's the people who are not linguistically skilled or just literate enough. Anybody who hasn't had a college education can't fill out that form. So eliminating that form has psychic value for the nation, unless you're getting a cut. So they figure they're paying for what they're getting, and they are, but they shouldn't have to. Which is Republicans who favor tax reform. That's essentially what they're doing. They say people shouldn't have to be smart to get money that will help the economy and help their families. So yeah, I will never need. Sometimes I use software, and a couple of times I've used it to prepare when I had like a bankruptcy and didn't know how to deal with it on the form. I mean, that's the only time I've had to deal with that. Other than that, and now I don't have to pay taxes. I'm poor. I'm a retiree living on Social Security. I don't have another job, so I don't have to pay. But or file. But now hire me, and I'll have to file. And use my ideas. And then if you use if they use my ideas, and I don't, I could get the credit. Somebody might recognize them, but probably nobody would recognize. Nobody would remember that I've been making tax reform ideas for more than a decade, and that they haven't really changed much. More than a decade, because I first did it in 1998. So 17 years, 16 years of tax policy that's relatively the same, that would help people not have to file taxes, of good Republican-style tax policy. Nobody would notice it. If Donald Trump said, let's do this. Give me the credit. Whether I was paid to develop it for him or remained unpaid, but he was but he knows how to. But he has somebody in his department that says, we should try that. It might be good for Donald. Would be good. He'd be one of the greatest, seen as one of the greatest presidents, or not. Here's the thing. I think he's gone a bridge too far. He will never be a great president after that slip of the tongue yesterday saying, or the day before yesterday saying, it would be nice to have ethnically cleanse Gaza. This is what he said. Let's ethnically cleanse Gaza and let me build a hotel there. Yeah, that's pretty much, you can't come back from that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, that's can't come back from that stuff. Yeah. I mean, I could talk about the whole Dobbs thing and the whole, for some people that would have been the thing, and the guy who overturned Dobbs, you couldn't work for him. I could justify thinking to work for him because what I would do is actually make it so women wouldn't have to get an abortion because they'd have enough money for their children. In fact, you're heartless if you end abortion or restrict abortion and don't give money to kids or their parents. That's just cruel. That kind of cruelty I don't go with. So if I were asked to just work doing anything for this guy, no, absolutely not. And there's some people who on the other side of the issue, just even signing a compromise bill or a non-compromise bill, a bill, the Freedom of Choice Act, which is essentially what people are saying they want passed, and Kamala said she would sign it, and Right to Life Democrats said we're going to vote for Trump, and they did in the swing states. That's why she lost. That's really why she lost. Right-to-life Democrats saw that as a bridge too far. And the reason we have to have it is because the lovely folks at ACLU and the Center for Reproductive Rights, they didn't have an answer to viability. I'm sure they knew the answer, but they didn't say it. God help us if they didn't know it, because I've told them about it several times behind the scenes that viability is a constitutional theory that is rooted in the fact that if you're viable, you can be born, and if you can be born, you're covered by the 14th Amendment and can't be killed. That's like, it's obvious enough. I think it's even hinted at in part in part 10 of in chapter 10 of Roe, chapter 9 or 10, and in 9 they said that there's never been any kind of definitive statement. If the Congress had said that that the 14th Amendment says that you can that if you can be born, you're a 14th Amendment covered citizen for purposes of abortion law, they get away with it. So that's viability, and then that case was lost. It was not won. If they had said just those ability to be born as viability, they'd have said just those 3 words, it would have been impossible for Alito's case to have been opinion to have been proved. He would have lost Coney Barrett. And you would have lost Roberts. But that's it's people voting with their heart, not their head, kind of like, and that's probably what Trump did as far in saying ethnically cleansing Gaza. He had this brilliant idea, maybe that the Riviera. He's right; it would be the Riviera, and Muslims have it, so they're not going to go sunning, and they're not going to want a bunch of naked people on their beach. So, although I would, it's so far. It's the Mediterranean at that point probably isn't too hygienic. I wouldn't swim in the Med at Gaza. This is all the stuff from the Nile. It's backwashing onto it. It's, no fresh Gazan seafood for me. Thank you very much. But ethnically cleansing Gaza, that's war criminal stuff. No decent person is going to work for somebody. It's like if Dick Cheney were the president. It's like, no. He tried to ethnically cleanse Iraq, or he's a war criminal as far as not respecting the Geneva Convention rights of the prisoners in Gitmo. If you either are a criminal or you're a prisoner of war, you can't be in between the two. And and American law says that if you violate the Geneva Convention, you're a felon. And they decided not to prosecute the same way that they initially decided, and did decide not to prosecute Trump. So, yeah. No, I don't think I could work for an ethnic cleanser. That's like, I mean, he's not only talks a little about fascism, he's proposed it. Like, fascist behavior. So, yeah. Can't work for that. No. Not even for a lot of money, and a lot of money would be making it tempting. But no, sorry, Donald. Even the most your people even know because they walked it back. But to get decent Republicans, Donald, you got to quit. It's just like, resign, Trump, because no Republican staffer and probably members even want you behind their cause now if they're decent. And there's a lot of people who are indecent, but yeah, Trump, you got too dirty. So, goodbye to you. Leave the field. You have messed it up too much.